Hello and welcome to Dingoes Ate My Podcast. I'm Paul,
And I'm Dave.
and this week we're discussing the Season 3 episode of Angel, Quickening. Alrighty, so this episode originally aired November 12th, 2001, attracting approximately 5.2 million viewers. Let us start off, you know what? Let's start off with box office, because otherwise the video games will spoil the number one movie in America this week. So,
Oh,
so for November this week, number one film in America. Any guesses?
hmm.
I'll give you a
Uh,
hint. It got turned into a video game.
yeah, with that stuff there. I'm just trying to think of around the time what sort of movie came out that
This was a cultural phenomenon, Dave, and spawned a massive franchise.
spawned it.
It's the first film in a franchise.
Yeah, with those.
It's adapted from a book.
Damn, it's too many things running in my head. Like I think it's the one thing, but then it might be the other. It's just
Throw out a
too many
guess.
choices to go with.
What would be your guess?
It's like the only one thing that was there and somewhat staying in my head was Spider-Man, but that might be different. It's just it's left me all confused now.
Spider-Man is summer of 2002. No, the movie you were looking for this particular week in November of 2001, doing just over $90 million at the box office on its opening weekend, was a little film called Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Phenomenon.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you don't really think about it with how things are nowadays and the way that things have kind of gone. Like, yeah, this was a thing. This was a huge thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And like doing $90 million in your opening weekend in 2001, fucking insane. Because we're going to get to another massive franchise in a couple of
Yeah,
weeks, and it did like half on its opening weekend. So yeah, this was huge.
yeah. With that, yeah.
Alrighty. So let us move on to video games.
Yes, indeed.
So, November 12th, the day this episode aired, we have three games. So, if you're a PC gamer, you could either pick up a game called Empire Earth or Survivor. I don't know why you'd want to play a Survivor video game, but you do you.
People who want the experience without actually being picked up by a film crew and sent off to an island.
I just feel like in 2001 it would not be a good game, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe it was good, but I don't
There
think it
were
was.
most likely fans of it. Whether or not it was good or not, that would be the biggest question.
Oh, GameSpot gave it a score of terrible with a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
And on the same day, if you weren't really into either of those and you had a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up Gradius Advance. Have you ever played
Huh.
Gradius?
I think like vaguely. It was the ship shooter, I believe it was,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I've heard of the series. I don't think I've really played of them. I've played the lookalikes and similar sort of things,
yeah,
though.
yeah. There's a lot of similar stuff from like the
Hmm.
NES kind of era. Okay,
Yep.
so the next day, Jesus Christ, November 13th. If you had a PS2, you had two amazing choices for video games to pick up this day if you wanted something new. On one hand, you could pick up James Bond 007 Agent Under Fire,
Ah, yes.
which is a game that. I, is this the one I'm thinking of? Okay, it got mixed or averaged reviews, but. Oh no, this isn't the one I'm thinking of. I think it's the sequel to this that's amazing.
Hmm.
But either way, it's freaking. It's a James Bond game. It was going to sell well.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, Nightfire's the one after this. Okay. Anyway, and if you're like, I don't really want to play a James Bond game, a little game came out on the PS2 called Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty.
Ah, yes. The Metal Gear Solid game that was a little bit questionable with all the particular things it did.
Which one's 2?
Two's the one where they show it off as the main character of the series, but then they blindside
Right.
to a different character to play.
Right. And that pissed a whole bunch of people off. Right.
Yeah. But then, of course, that's also the Metal Gear Solid series.
Yeah, and that series has never pissed anyone off. Okay, so on the same day, if you're like, I don't really want to play a shooter game, and you had a Game Boy Color still, okay, you could pick up Cubics Robots for Everyone, Race and Robots.
Yeah, that was a thing.
I don't remember this at all.
It was more so within the cartoons and other sorts of things, but they picked up a particular series from Japan with transforming robots and tried to get it somewhat going. It didn't exactly last long, but it was a thing for a time.
I'm going to believe you because I've never played it or heard of it. Okay, so the next day, on November 14th, you had 2 games come out. On the Game Boy Color, we had Harvest Moon 3. You ever play any of the You've played the Harvest Moon games, right?
Couple of them. I
Okay.
think 1 or 2 of the older ones. It wasn't until the one on the GameCube that I really sort of dived much into the farm simulators.
Right, okay. Yeah, the Game Boy Color ones, I've played one of them, and it's it definitely... I really got into it on the N64. Which is the first one that I got, and I became obsessed with. Also, on November 14th, if you had an Xbox, you could pick up Shrek, the video game.
Yes, because that was a game that existed.
Yes, nobody liked it. It was not good, and it was not good.
Yeah, no. It's not until 2 that it's kind of breaked into the, this game exists, let's play it.
Yeah, but Shrek 2 isn't a good game either, because we've played that and proven that that game is not good.
But nevertheless, a bunch of people played it.
Yeah, they've did. Alright, November 15th was a frickin' big day. Okay, on the Xbox, we had Dead or Alive 3.
Ooh, definitely a big day to start out with that.
Oh, I'm going to argue that's like not even near the top end of the games coming out this day. Also on November 15th, on Windows, PS1, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance, you could pick up Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
As you know.
Or Sorcerer's Stone, depending where you live in the world.
Yeah, with that whole change in debacle.
Do you know the story behind that?
I think I vaguely remember hearing about it, but I can't remember the details.
When they published the book originally, it was originally published as Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, but when it was brought over to America, they were worried that American kids wouldn't know what a philosopher was, so they changed it to sorcerer.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the case of other particular regions being like, that goes too much into the sorcery sort of thing and whatnot, so they changed it to that specifically.
No, the original title was Philosopher's Stone, but yeah.
No, I think it was the case of the book series and whatnot was out at the time, and there were the 2 versions of it, that it was originally written with Philosopher, and then it switched over to Sorcerer, and I have the old copy of it with the Philosopher on it.
Yeah, because I think it was released in Canada as Philosopher's Stone, because that rings a bell to me, but I'm not 100% sure.
Because despite the fact that I appreciate the Harry Potter series, books, movies, and games, it's only to a certain extent. So, yeah, I have not read all the books.
I read the first few, I have seen 0 of the movies, and I've played 0 of the games. Although there is a new game coming out, I think this winter, that I do want to play.
Oh, the big, huge, fancy...
Yeah, the one coming to PS5.
Yes, the university one that's like, be a wizard, do all the fancy things.
Hogwarts
have
Legacy.
Microtransactions.
Yeah, Hogwarts Legacy. It looks incredible. I want to play it.
Indeed, it looks neat, but it's kind of the case of I need a little bit more info, and does it actually come out at any of the older consoles? Because I don't have any of the new one.
I want to say it was still on PS4. Platforms: Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PlayStation 5, and on Windows.
Well, looks like I'm picking it up for the Switch because I need them motion controls.
Oh dear God! It'll run at like 2 frames a
I joke.
second.
I joke. Uh,
Anyway, also on November 15th on the Xbox exclusively, you could pick up Oddworld Munch's Odyssey.
yes,
Are
this
you
particular one.
are you familiar with Oddworld, I take it.
Only vaguely. I've seen a couple bits of gameplay and other bits, but it's a series I never really dived into, just with its particular aesthetic and all the particular things around it. It was just a case of, yeah, I don't want to go anywhere near this.
It's a series that I've always wanted to try, but I've just never gotten into.
Hmm.
Yeah, it looks super interesting to me, but I never got around to it. Also on November 15th, if those weren't for you and you had either an Xbox, PS2, or a GameCube, you could pick up a little party game called Cell Damage. Do you remember Cell Damage?
Vaguely. The name rings a bell, and I'm getting vague flashes of things, but I can't quite place it.
It didn't review super well, but it's like so take Twisted Metal,
Nah.
uh, make it with cartoon characters, and make it cell shaded.
Okay, I think I vaguely remember it. I think just from advertisements and other things that were advertised about it.
I
Again,
think
it was there. It wasn't anything that I ever had a chance to try or play myself.
I think we played it once with someone. I seem to remember playing it like maybe with Scott or something,
Maybe.
but I couldn't swear to that in court. But I'll just throw
Yeah.
a screenshot in the chat so you can see what it looks like. It's a cool looking game. I think this is from the like remaster, but you get an idea of what it looks like.
Yeah, it was something at the very least. Yeah. No, I don't think it was any sort of thing that I remember playing.
Okay. And finally, on November 15th, look, I'm not going to lie, a bunch of good games came out this day, but nobody bought them. Because everybody was buying this little game that came out on the Xbox. A little game called Halo Combat Evolved.
Oh God, this was today. This is the thing that happened. The thing that everyone completely cleared off their schedule. Was like, okay, I'm gonna be gone for a week to play through this game online. Bye.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. So, this wasn't a big week or anything. It just had, freaking Halo.
Well, it's kind of the case of I wasn't part of the party when this stuff was happening. It's kind of the case of I heard about it, and people were like, "Oh man, we got to do that thing," and it's like, "Oh, okay. Well, I have other things to do for school and another video game or whatnot I'm interested in, so I'm not all interested in the Halo stuff."
Oh, and Dave, the week's just getting started.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. November 16th, the next day, if you were still rocking a Dreamcast, you could pick up a game called Headhunter.
Ooh, this is the bad one, isn't it?
FMV cutscenes, generally favorable reviews. It seems like it reviewed fairly well. Like, I mean, like Metacritic's got it at an 87 out of 100.
Okay. But I think it's just the case that with its subject matter and all the particular things that you could do within the game, the censoring and whatnot about it was kind of like, yeah, you're not getting this game, certain countries.
Oh, that might be. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the game that much. Okay.
No, I think it's a case of I remember some people on YouTube discussing about it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. On November 17th, we got 2 games on the GameCube. You could either pick up NHL Hits 2002, which is a very fun game, and I won't hear anybody talk bad about it because it's super fun and dumb.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but in my case, it's just kind of eh.
It's like, did you ever play like NFL Blitz, like those really over-the-top football
No,
games?
I've seen those particular ones before. I never played them, but I know what you're talking about.
It's that, but for hockey.
No, understandable.
And if that wasn't up your alley, you could also pick up a little game on the GameCube called Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader.
Who? Who? That's a biggin. It's a Star Wars game and a biggin. Who?
We're not done. So, if neither of those were up your alley, the next day on November 18th on the GameCube, you could pick up Crazy Taxi, which feels like
Of course.
a weird choice because that game was old at this, like over 2 years old at this point, but whatever.
Well, it's the case of they had stuff within the library. Someone just thought, throw it on there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it was like super cheap to get the licensing for it. And also on November 18th on the GameCube, you could pick up Super Monkey Ball.
Ooh, very much needs.
Which is a franchise that I wish would, I can't say come back, but would come back to prominence.
Well, it's been around with a previous game release. It's been a month or so since the last one, but they got at least something on the Switch recently.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Super Monkey Ball and Super Monkey Ball 2, I feel like were bigger deals. Like, that was, like, a big deal when those games came out. And, like, the new ones, I didn't even know about.
Yeah, well, there was some advertisement to it, but yeah, around the time when it was first developed and how big it was at that time, yeah, it doesn't exactly have the same staying power that it did back then.
Fair enough. Also, on November 18th on the GameCube, you could pick up a little game called Luigi's Mansion.
Ooh, the big Mario game of the GameCube before the Mario game was released.
And quite a while before it came out, wasn't like, because I want to say Sunshine is like 2003.
Sometime around then, but it's a case of when GameCube was first released, here's your Mario game with his brother Luigi.
Oh no, it's August 2002. Okay, so it's like not quite a year later you got a Mario game, but still, like that was kind of ballsy putting out like a Luigi game as like your kind of centerpiece for the console.
But on whole, as it is with the series and how it's kind of gone on from that particular point, it's good to see.
Yeah, and I mean, Luigi's Mansion, like you said, it's become its own franchise. Maybe not a super prominent one, but hey, they still make the games.
Deeds.
And we have two more games to go. So if you had a Game Boy Advance and you were a wrestling fan, and God help you if you bought this game, you could pick up WWF Road to WrestleMania on the Game Boy Advance.
I suppose I give my condolences that you had to suffer through this.
I didn't play this. I never played any of the like Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color wrestling games because I immediately knew that game's going to be crap.
Well, thankfully you dodged the bullet then.
Yeah, they're never good.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, the last game for November 18th came out on the PC, and it is a game called IL-2 Stormovik. It's like a World War II flight combat game.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that was kind of a big week for video games.
Teeny bit, yes.
Yeah, just a little bit. We only had Halo and a Star Wars game, and what else did we have? Luigi's Mansion, Metal Gear Solid.
It wasn't exactly big because the Halo completely eclipsed everything else, but no, on whole, it was a big week.
Yeah. A lot of stuff that week. All right, and finally, number one song in America this week, Dave.
Nah, I'm going to keep it to the safe bet and say it was, I can't remember its title exactly, but the Family Matters one from last week.
Yes, it's still Family Affair. Which, hey, apparently people really like that song, so good for them.
Nah, I wouldn't be surprised if I actually heard the song play through once and I was like, oh, that song, I vaguely remember it, and then almost likely completely forget it again.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I don't know the song at all. So, let us move on to the episode.
Ugh, this episode.
Oh, it's going to get worse from here, Dave. So, we start off in York, England in 1764, where we see vampire hunter Daniel Holtz riding with a posse to trap Darla and Angelus. But the two vampires have evaded his trap and are instead at his own house, killing his wife and 2 children. They taunt him. Excuse me. They taunt him with a note in their supposed hiding space. Who do you expect to stop us if you can't even protect your... Or how do you expect to stop us if you can't even protect your own? So we cut to present-day Los Angeles. Angel shares a tender moment with a very pregnant Darla, who tells him that their baby is protected by some kind of powerful force because she has tried to get rid of it and can't. Darla goes into labor, and the crew take her to the hospital, where they commandeer a labor and delivery room and equipment in order to deliver the baby. Okay. We cut over to an underground lair, and the being that brought Daniel Holtz back to life catches him up on the history of the world. They made an agreement 227 years earlier, when the creature visited Holtz in 1773 and told him that he would never see Angel or Darla again, but promised him, but that if he promised to kill them, he would transport Holtz to the future to do the deed and finally get the vengeance he wants. Holtz agreed. So basically, this demon put Holtz in another dimension where time passes much differently, and then brought him back, and it felt like Holtz was gone for a second, but he was gone for the 227 years. That's how they get him to the current day.
As you know, there has to be some method to get a person from the past to the present.
Yes, and I mean, like, I feel like that's a pretty reasonable one for this series. They're like, well, yeah, we just put him in a different dimension where time's different. And I'm like, okay, I can accept that.
Like, instead of the typical time travel trappings with all the issues that could cause.
Well, yeah, and I just feel like, yeah, it feels like a perfectly reasonable... I mean, you know, for this series, perfectly reasonable.
Diving into the particular demon with his particular talent, but let's maybe save that for the end.
So we cut over to Wolfram and Hart, where Gavin Park engages in some machinations against Lila. The exterminators he sent to the Hyperion planted bugs throughout the hotel, and he has footage of Angel, whose body was possessed at the time, having sex with Lila on a desk. However, the sniping and scheming is brought to a halt when Lila notices on Gavin's notes that there is a pregnant woman staying at the hotel and identifies her as Darla. The two lawyers join forces and alert the head of special projects, Linwood Morrow, to the pregnancy, and the firm gets to work figuring out what is happening. They gather together psychics and telepaths. Their plan is to grab Darla and the baby and then dissect them to find out what it means. Because, you know, Wolfram and Hart, they're the good guys. At the hospital, the Angel Investigations team use an ultrasound machine to view Darla's unborn child. Wesley discovers that the child is human and a boy. A vampire cult that worships the miracle child interrupts the proceedings. The leader says that their goal is to protect Darla's child. At this point, an assassin in a ninja costume leaps from the balcony, apparently intending to kill Darla and the child. The vampires make short work of him. The vampire cult leader says that he intends to kill all of the humans and feed their blood to Darla to nourish the child. This pleases Darla, who is very hungry.
Yeah.
We cut back to Wolfram and Hart, where Gavin Park briefs a paramilitary team on the firm's plans to capture Darla, whom they believe is at the Hyperion Hotel. The question of how to take the child from Darla's body arises. Lila introduces Dr. Vanovich from Wolfram and Hart's Balkan office, who is an expert in paranormal obstetrics. I feel like that's not real. He looks forward to dissecting both Darla and her child, because again, Wolfram and Hart, they're the good guys. At the hospital, Darla says she intends to sit out the coming fight between the Angel Investigations team and the Vampire Cult. She changes her mind when the leader of the Vampire Cult explains that his group intends to rip her apart as well. The Angel Investigations team with Darla fight their way out of the hospital.
Yeah.
So, at the Hyperion Hotel, the Wolfram and Hart paramilitary team prepares for action, and the doctor prepares for dissection. He has cages for both Darla and her child. How considerate of him. Angel drives away with the Angel Investigations team and Darla. He thinks that they should leave Los Angeles, but he is not sure where to go. Wesley says that they should return to the hotel long enough to retrieve the scrolls. Also at the hotel is Daniel Holtz, who manages to kill the entirety of Wolfram Hart's team. Angel arrives at the hotel to get the scrolls with the prophecy, and barely has he taken in the carnage and dead bodies around him before Holtz appears, ready for battle. The rest of the team waits in the car for Angel to return, but before he does, Darla's water breaks.
Of course, because it just has to be a cliffhanger bit of the episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So what'd you think of this episode?
With this one, just all the craziness really kicking into gear with this story. The couple interesting things with that is the Angel Investigations team was always discussing about how this prophecy is supposedly working, and every source that they started looking at kind of not exactly having the best points, but the case that everything is kind of converging to have meet for this event to happen. And it involves Angel, Darla, the kid, and some other particular things that all come together. And it's interesting to see that Wolfram and Hart was trying to push their way into all of this and sort of see what's going on, but at nearly every turn they were stopped because with that assassin that attacked them when the vampires were around, that was someone that Laura from Wolfram called to look into the situation. Well, he's done with, and then the whole surgical team ran into Holtz, who was like, yeah, you're not part of the plan. Guys, sick them.
Yeah, so they're definitely setting up pieces for what's to come. And obviously we're going to get more about the prophecy next week and a few other things. I'm not going to spoil, but it's going to be good. But yeah, they're definitely putting things together to kind of have like a mid-season-ish kind of big moment, let's say.
Okay, big thing that they're sort of work to get ready for and
yeah, that we can kind of have like a peak in the middle of the season and then move off and kind of slowly ramp things up for the finale. Yeah, that's definitely what they're building to here. So, it's yeah, there's going to be some stuff coming up, Dave.
Oh boy.
But for now, let us look at some international titles. So in French, it's just Quickening. Great. Love a Highlander reference.
Yeah.
And in German, it translates as On the Run. Which,
Good match. This seems a little bit more to the point of the episode. Like, Quickening is good matching with the reference to Highlander, but on whole, I think just with On the Run with how the team has to run with this seems a bit more, but that's just my thought on it.
Yes. So, if there's nothing else about this episode, next week we'll be discussing the episode Lullaby.
Oh boy, we're going to have some baby works within this, I suppose.
Okay. So, Vampire Hunter Holtz's rekindled crusade to kill Angel and Darla complicates the impending birth of the couple's baby. Despite him learning about Angel having a soul from Lila Morgan, with her contractions getting closer together, Darla takes off her parts unknown, and Angel has to find her before Holtz and his army of demons do. While the rest of the group seeks sanctuary at Caritas. Meanwhile, Lila employs a scroll translator to help out with an ominous prophecy concerning the birth of the vampire baby, and in the end, sacrifices have to be made.
Oh boy.
I know what's going to happen, and it's not going to be fun. I'm just warning you now, Dave.
Duly noted. I'll keep it in mind.
It's, yeah. Anyway, if there's nothing else, until next time, I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.